Hey guys, Isabella here, and today we're going to be reading the 10 outrageous horror game jump scares that still freak us out. The horror game genre has evolved over generations, employing different tactics to try and draw the most anxiety out of fans. Jump scares are one of the oldest tricks in the book, often looked down upon for being the easy way out. There is an art to a shock, much like horror itself. There are plenty of bad examples with a few gems sprinkled in. Games have a tendency to overplay their hand, taking away the shock value that scares need to work. Only the rare few have managed to combine tone, timing, and animation, bringing back one of the methods in the game. Luckily, players can avoid the sea of poorly executed titles and cut straight to the quality. Number 10, Dino Crisis, T-Rex. Making its debut back in 1999, Dino Crisis had both a unique take and some of the best jump scares of all time. Seemingly coming out of nowhere, oftentimes it takes a second to realize what's going on. With an island full of dinosaurs to contend with, players never know what's around the corner. Through the smash windows, the classic jump scare community is a classic in the jump scare community. This T-Rex bursts in a seemingly peaceful search around an office, catching all who are out of the know off guard. It's then up to the players to avoid the gnashing jaws in the enclosed space. Number 9, Silent Hill Locker Room. In one of the earliest examples of an in-game choices affecting the story's outcome, Silent Hill pulls off an impressive feat of creating suspense whatever the player chooses. One of the most daunting areas being the locker room. Doors in horror games are never fun, and then this room is filled to the brim. With many opportunities to cause panic, players have anxiety brewing just below the surface. There are two potential scares. Both implant the fake-out technique by giving a small moment of relief before doubling down. First, a harmless kitten jumping out, followed by a bloody corpse dropping onto the floor. Number 8, Resident Evil, Doberman. One of the most classic jump scares in all of gaming, it belongs on every jump scare list purely for the setup. Putting a pack of decomposed dogs in the back of the player's head, then sending one flying through the window at just the right time. In a game filled with noteworthy jump scares, it's really saying something about this that one stood at the top of the pile. Animals in horror games are bad enough, decomposed ones are even worse, but good timing is key to bringing it all together. Number 7, Resident Evil 7, Jack Baker. Visiting the family from hell, the Baker main house is one that will test the player's nerves and skill. Having to navigate both around the house and tormented members of the family, Jack is much more of a problem than anybody else. In formal Navy SEAL, he'll stalk the player around the house and watch their move before making one of the least subtle entrances in Resident Evil. Bursting through the wall with an axe, most games make you defeat the enemy, but in this encounter, it's time to run. Number 6, Bioshock Infinite, Boy of Silence. Bioshock Infinite had the wherewithal, that's a weird word, to place a jump scare in otherwise a smooth game, only having one but making it count. Every jump scare gets old after a few, becoming annoying more than anything. Luckily, Bioshock doesn't overdo it, creating the most shock value for the player. As the player makes their way through the mental hospital, it's anything but relaxing, fighting off an array of enemies while trying to find a control room. It's only when the player makes it to the lever that the Boy of Silence pops up out of nowhere, and is anything but silent doing it. Number 5, Fatal Frame 2, Broken Neck Girl. One of the most terrifying concepts of a game is the players having to search for and fight with ghosts through the lens of a camera. Prime real estate for some top-quality jump scares, and Fatal Frame doesn't let down. Her sudden appearance is one of the most disturbing sights in the second game, displaying her broken neck from an apparent suicide. Not only is it scary, but in the moment but the more players think about it, that a tortured spirit, the darker it gets. Number 4, Bioshock the Dentist. Capitalizing on the dentist phobia that belongs to many, not only are you doing it through a post-apocalyptic nightmare, but teeth are getting drilled too. The smoke-filling room periodically doesn't exactly help the situation, unnecessarily putting the player on edge before anything ever happens. Right when the player starts to settle and gets invested into searching for clues, a rogue dentist sneaks up behind you and wait for the turn. Almost immediately lurching forward for the attack, the player's reflexes had better be on point or they'll end up in the chair. Number 3, Condemned to Bloodshot, Bear Chase. It doesn't always have to be supernatural. Have to be a supernatural being or psychopathic killer. Sometimes the scariest thing can be found in our world. Bears have a notorious reputation in video games for being a daunting enemy, and for a good reason. Condemned doesn't do anything to dispel the stereotype, throwing a massive grizzly at a player, sneaking up quietly, and then building momentum until the player has negative, pretty tight quarters fast to escape. Huffing and growling right at the heels of the character is a perfect panic-inducing scenario. Number 2, Condemned. Criminal charges, mannequin hallucinations. Mannequins have never been a comforting sight, being used in horror genres for decades. It's bad enough going through the department store in pitch black, now filled wall to wall with suited-up figures carrying suspicious items. Then it's decided to ratchet up the experience to a nightmarish level, hallucinating that they're following him all the way through. This appears in jumpy flashes before returning to normal. Not that either situation is fun to be in. And number 1, Dead Space, meeting the Necromorph. Coming out of the gate swinging, the first Necromorph that players ever gets to see is in its jump scare form. Trapped in an elevator, it's already in a suspenseful world. It's a great placement to make the character feel trapped. It happens while the elevator is moving. The beast bursts through the door, making the sane human jump out of their skin. However, like any other great jump scare, the victim is never in any danger, and the Necromorph is swiftly crushed by the doors, leaving the player feeling confused and embarrassed. But that is your top 10 best horror game jump scares. I hope you all enjoyed. If you're new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. Also, the bell showing videos, which is daily. And be sure to comment down below what your favorite best horror game jump scare is. I think, again, mine's probably going to be either, Five Nights at Freddy's or one of the Five Nights at Freddy's or Outlast, because they have some pretty good jump scares that are pretty damn scary. Like, when you first meet, what's his name? Walker, whoever goes, little piggy, no. But yeah, be sure to comment down below. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.